Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at. Welcome to Kemetic Ascension, brought to you by the Shrine of Ma'at. We are so pleased that you have come to spend part of your Sunday with us. I know that while yesterday was virtually a rainout, today is a beautiful day in New York City. Really sunny and relatively warm, above normal temperature. So it's a wonderful day. I'm so pleased that you've come to join us. My name is Jabari Osaze, also known as Heru Ma'at, Antin Ra. We have Anika Infrakama'at back there. And we also have one of our priests that is here. We have Abu Ames that is here as well. You'll see him in a little while. You already know him, but we are here and we would like to hear where you are. So please let us know where in the world you are and how long you have been part of Kemetic Ascension. Where in the world are you and how long you've been part of Kemetic Ascension? We're hoping that our voice, our image, our discussion of the traditions of our African ancestors go long and far and wide for our location here in Harlem, New York. So please let us know where in the world you are. Do we have any answers yet?
We have Wilnette, Luis Efumati, Robinson, Abojewa Osset. I hope I got that correct.
That has got to be a new name because I have never heard you read all of that before. Did they say where they are or how long they've been part?
No, tell us where you are.
They were probably typing that a little before I asked them for that.
Yeah, they were the first to post before we started. Here we have the Djehuty of Phoenix with us.
The Djehuty of Phoenix, also known as Djehuty Forever. Our brother, son William, is there. Ankin Ma'at to you, Ankin Ma'at.
We have Nehemi L. Sims out in Harlem.
Ankin Ma'at. We know it's Nehemi L, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Nehemi L. Oh, Nehemi L is San Nemo, yes. Right? A full member, 2 full members. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Ankin Ma'at.
We have Ma'ati Aset out in Los Angeles, Atlanta, Baltimore.
Ankin Ma'at, Ankin Ma'at.
Hiru Asar Ank Amunra in Dallas, Texas, 4 years.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have Abut Seshat, who is here. This is from the Heartbeat to Harlem.
From the Heartbeat to Harlem?
Mm-hmm. Been part of Kemetic Ascension since around, I don't know.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
Send Jason Holmes out in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Ankin Ma'at, send Jason, Ankin Ma'at, Dwa, Dwa, Dwa. Dwa to so many of you for, yesterday was my solar return day. Dwa to all of you for my birthday wishes. Ankin Ma'at to you.
We have, and Nahemi L says he's on 125th.
He's chilling on 125th? He's not on 125th. That's not where you live, is it?
We have Michael Belangi out in Chicago.
Ankin Ma'at to you.
Caleb Bryson out in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Wonderful.
Been watching for a few years. Yes, he says it's San Nemo.
Yeah, it's San Nemo. Yeah.
Godfred Kwesi Danso from Ghana, currently at sea.
Currently at where?
Sea. LOL.
Currently at sea.
Yes, water.
I wonder what does that mean? What does that mean? You're currently at sea. Are you literally on the water right now? What are you doing? That'd be curious. On a ship?
Okay. So the name
of course, Abu Ames is nodding like it's normal because Abu Ames was in the Navy. So to him, that's like, yeah, he's on the water. What's wrong with? Almost no. Everyone be like, really? That's interesting. This is the one person in our life that be like, he's on the water. What? You understood what he said? He's the one person. Who else?
So Ma'ati Aset was the same person I mentioned earlier with the longer name.
Oh, Ankin
Ma'at. Goes by
Ma'at.
Ma'ati Aset or Fwa Ma'ati.
Ankin Ma'at.
We have Senat Cortia, excuse me.
Ankh and Ma'at out in Georgia, the ATL. Ankh and Ma'at, one of our full members.
We have Jahim Ray out in Woodbridge, Virginia,
Ankh
watching
and
for about
Ma'at.
a year.
Ankh and Ma'at. Ma'ati Osset sounds like a Shrine of Ptah name. Ma'ati Osset. What's your lineage? Did you come from the Shrine of Ptah? I feel like I knew a Ma'ati Osset. That's why I'm asking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We have a Gina Ma'at out in Atlanta, Georgia. Been on path since 2017.
Ankh and Ma'at. Wonderful. Wonderful.
We have Coburn Reed out in Montego Bay, Jamaica. Been attending for 3 years.
Now, Montego Bay, Jamaica is clearly the furthest space away at this point. Ankh and Ma'at to you.
Well, depending on where it's sea,
Yes,
name
it does
brother
depend
is.
on where it's sea. You are correct.
So Sinet Cortia says, on the road heading south, family emergency, send a few affirmations.
Oh, no.
Netter.
We are asking that the Netzeru guide you, that they are the wheels on your vehicle, that they make the road straight and fill any crevice or pothole that may obstruct you. We hope that your family is in good stead, and we hope that they will return to their greatness. Dwanter.
We have Senanjanakan Malo, family from Naples,
Out
Florida.
in Naples, Florida, Ankh and Ma'at to you, one of our full members again.
Heru Ankh Amunra, Heru Asar Ankh Amunra says, happy solar returns.
Dwa. Dwa.
We have Kelvin Eugene Bradley, who says, Ashe. Tell us where you're from.
Ankh and Ma'at.
Yes, God. Kwesi says he's sailing. He didn't say where, but he's sailing.
Sailing. His responses are only creating more questions in my head. That is amazing. Be safe wherever you are. Let's maybe that's what I should really be saying at this point.
He's a navigator. So.
He's a navigator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I was the only person who's like, yeah, he's navigating. Everyone else will be like, really? What is he navigating? What is he sailing? He's the one person we've known that spent a lot of time on water, you know.
We have Martin Walker out in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Ankh and Ma'at to you.
Tassetti out in Denver, Colorado. In Chapel Hill, North Carolina this week for 10 months.
Oh, wow. Ankh and Ma'at.
We have Heru Djehuty Pata Umika Temra out in Oakland.
Ankh and Ma'at to you. One of our full members, I believe. I'm trying to remember what name.
You do this
Ernest,
every
right?
week.
That's St. Ernest.
Every week.
St. Ernest, I mess up your name every single week.
Okay. Curtis Jackson.
Ankh and
from
Ma'at out in
Ohio
Pennsylvania.
Versus via Pittsburgh, excuse me. We have Son Cleo Ford, full member.
From New York City, Ankh and Ma'at.
Ronald Green out in Alton, Illinois.
Ankh and Ma'at, a regular name that we hear every Kemetic Ascension. Ankh and Ma'at.
So Ma'ati Aset says the name was gifted to this Umi Sistren by Priestess Semset Bas on the last day of Kwanzaa from the Crossed Unity Center of African Spiritual Sciences.
Priestess Semset is from the Shrine of Ptah. Mm-hmm. I recognize that name. I might have met Ma'ati Aset. Ankh and Ma'at to you. She is a priestess from the Shrine of Ptah, an elder priestess. She doesn't look like an elder priestess, but she's an elder priestess. She came into the tradition before any of us did, and is one of the founders of the dance troupe, the creative dance troupe Forces of Nature. And the last I spoke to her, she was living between New York and LA, just back and forth. So yes, I knew I should ask about that name. Have we met before, Ma'ati said? Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
That's it so far.
My brain is zooming today. See, that's what's going on.
Brother Kwesi says that he works on a container ship, and that's how you'll get your goods delivered.
See, this is becoming more and more fascinating. So where did you come from, and where are you going to? That's fascinating to me. Whenever I drive past one of those areas that has those massive containers and those gigantic cranes that lift those containers, I'm literally driving, so I have to remind myself I'm on the road. But I honestly want to just look at it agape for a second, because It is a massive operation. It really is. Sometimes when I'm out in Red Hook, I see it. When I'm out in Newark, I see it. You know, these massive cranes. I mean, the cranes are like 8 stories high or more. And they're lifting these cranes that are tons upon tons. And that is one of the ways that we get so many of our goods. So yeah, that's fascinating to know that there's someone who does that. That, I mean, obviously we know people do it, but no one that I knew. So that's fascinating. Wonderful. Be safe. May the waters guide you safely, and may your job be smooth.
Ma'ati says you've only met online.
Ah, okay.
She hasn't been to New York City since the early 80s and may have met in Atlanta post 96.
Ah, maybe. I did a retreat with Priestess Semset, and now I'm gonna forget the other priestess's name. This has gotta be maybe about 4 years ago, let's say. About 4 years ago. So I thought maybe I had met you there. Ankh and Ma'at. And that was in LA.
We have Garrick, excuse me. Garrick Van.
Out from the wonders of Bennu out in there. Ankh and Ma'at to you. Please say, give our greetings to your queen, to full members of the shrine.
We have Sinette Ashley in Houston.
Ankh and Ma'at to you, Sinette Ashley.
Kwesi says that he came from South Carolina heading to Morocco.
This is
okay. Stop.
Okay. Now I'm like, well, how long does it take to go from South Carolina to Morocco? You have internet on the ship? You know all these questions? Am I crazy to ask all those questions? This is fascinating. We have
Sinette Sakina Ra here with us.
Ankh and Ma'at, a full member in North Dakota, right? Isn't she in North Dakota? Anika's looking at me like, why are you asking me? You know, we both forget where she is. I think you're in North Dakota. Ankh and Ma'at to you. What's it like out there?
She's in Detroit with Sinette Ebony right now.
She's in Detroit? Mm-hmm. What? Ankh and Ma'at to you. Wow.
We have Queen Sebaka with us.
Ankh and Ma'at to you, one of our full members. Where is Sebaka now? I think Sebaka is not far from New York City, but I'm trying to remember exactly where. Ankh and Ma'at to you.
We have Chris from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Ankh and Ma'at.
We have Daniel Solomon from Anderson, South Carolina.
Ankh and Ma'at.
He's a Kemetic priest, today, huh? Or future priest of the Kemetic priesthood of the Shrine of Ma'at.
Wonderful. Wonderful. You got to start with initiation. You better be an initiation, right? Ankh and Ma'at.
We have Sinette Daria.
Ankh and Ma'at, one of our full members.
Mm-hmm. We have Sinette Lady Het Davis.
Ankh and Ma'at, another full member.
In Colorado.
Say Ankh and Ma'at to your sister, please. Ankh and Ma'at, she's another full member. Lady Het Davis, another full member. We have lots of folks who are full members of the Shrine of Ma'at on today.
Sibaka is from DC. And we have
I thought it was closer, Sibaka. Ankh and Ma'at to you.
We have D. Fulton from Knightdale, North Carolina. So a lot of North Carolina on here.
Yeah, today. North Carolina, South Carolina. We're hearing both the Carolinas. Ankh and Ma'at.
Yeah, that's the way we are.
Wonderful. Well, I am hoping that this spring is bringing you blessings, renewals, and also a new commitment to balance. You know that we just transitioned in the Western world from one season to the next on Monday. We're now in the spring. Yes.
We have Lorraine Arnett who joined us, who says, I am seeking answers for stage 4 breast cancer. I want to know what the ancestors' answer would be.
Ankh and Ma'at. And let me say that we are asking that we get the wisdom of Djehuty. We ask that we get the healing of Sekhmet. We ask that Imhotep himself come forward to assist you in your healing. We know that breast cancer afflicts so many of our sisters in this community. My youngest sibling in my family actually was afflicted with breast cancer and is a survivor. So I know how challenging this must be from being familiar with the difficulty that my baby sister has had. So we are asking you for healing. We are asking you to stay in good spirits, because I know that that is part of your healing as well. And we are asking that all of the Neteru and all the ancestors send healing energy to every molecule of cancer and eradicate it from your body. And we know that this can be done. If you are unclear about what experience you're having or what's going on, please send me an email. Maybe I would connect you to my sister, who I want to say had triple negative breast cancer, and which is a few years ago. Her doctor said maybe 15 years ago they would have told her, get your affairs in order. I mean, it's that serious. But she is healing. She's healing, thankfully. My baby sister is still with us, and her two beautiful daughters and her wonderful husband are still with us. They are people that are very dear to me. So I really do get the challenge that you're in, Sinet. So if you would like to get connected to someone else, my sister both did the sort of the allopathic and naturopathic route. She did both together. And so because the course of treatment was really difficult on her. So she did both to try to rebuild herself. And she's still on the path of healing, although she is currently cancer-free and will, the doctors say her prognosis is very good. So we're hoping that she is an emblem of healing for others as well. So, yeah.
Okay. We have Sinet Shenka with us.
Anken Ma'at out in the DMV, another one of our members, a very active member, Anken Ma'at, to use Sinet Shenka.
And we have Big Man 29 from Los Angeles, California.
I like that name, Big Man 29. Anken Ma'at to you, Big Man. So with that, for those of you, you know that after we have finished the live discussion, we continually get people telling us where they are and how long they've been part of Kemetic Ascension. And that's fine, because remember, this dialogue continues. So please continue to let us know those bits of information, because we want to know where you are so that we are able to recognize the extent of our growing Kemetic family. So Anken Ma'at to you. And I sometimes neglect to say this, but remember, this is a good time for you to share. This is a good time for you to like. This is a good time to put this live stream on your Facebook page, Instagram, like it on YouTube, send it to people. We know that there are other people that should be with us, that should be prepared to recognize, to focus on, to glorify the traditions of our ancient African ancestors. We don't necessarily know who they all are, but I guarantee you that you know at least two people that should be in this gathering. Please share this information with them so that we can reach the rest of our family. So with that, let me go ahead and say, before I do anything, I also want to take a moment and ask for the divine solace of the Neteru, ask for healing of the Neteru, because one of the brightest members of our Kemetic family, Ratsanku Keper, the Hemneter and Tepi, the suit of the Temple of Anu, our sister shrine, lost his mother. And I don't know if I like that wording. Let me reframe that and say, she is now an ancestor. But certainly when someone so close to us makes their transition, that can be difficult. I know what that's like, because I just lost my father. It's been 3 years. It's going to be 3 years in May, but it still feels like it happened regularly, just recently. So I know what it's like to lose a parent. It is really hard. And so that brother is probably really struggling a little bit. Please send the Temple of Anu and their founder and leader some love. Send him prayers. Send him energy. Please make sure that you allow the entire Kemetic community to send him energy. And we say to the Neteru and the ancestors, that we are asking, imploring you to make the journey of the mother of our dear Rasanku Kepper smooth as she transitions on the boat of Ra to Taseket Ma'at. We ask that you allow this brilliant star to be amongst your amazing coterie. We ask that the scales need not be checked as she enters the hall of Ma'ati. We ask for her to have a central place on the boat that makes its traverse. We ask that not a rough wave crash upon that boat. We ask that all of her family feel calm and solace and are able to access her as she reaches the other side. We ask that they are healed after the loss of this matriarch. And we ask that the entire Kemetic community receive the wisdom and the guidance to reach out to their dear brother, one of their brightest leaders, so that he can know that this community surrounds him, so that he knows that this community loves him, so that he knows that this community is with him, not just in times of jubilation, but also during the trials and tribulations. So I'm hoping that all of the ancestors of the Neteru hear my plea and assist. Twanter. He definitely could use some good words today because of the passing of his mother. So please reach out to him. Okay. So at this point, we go into that opening ritual that was given to us by our elder, Baba Heru Ra Samad Sepata. You know what I'm asking you to do. The opening of the way. The opening of the way. This ritual was put into its current configuration by that person that has been toiling, that has been practicing our ancient African traditions from the Hopi Nile Valley region longer than virtually anyone here in the West. And we know that he continues to do the work. And so we say dua for him, and we say dua to him for giving us this ritual that reminds us of just how powerful we are. So you know that you're supposed to stand at this point, right? This is not theater. And today, instead of watching Anika and myself do it, we figured we would ask Abu Ames to come forward and lead us in the opening of the way. Please come forward, come forward. It's good for you to hear. It's good for you to hear some of the other leaders of the shrine come forward before you. And so please, we're asking, I'm going to get out of his way so I'm not just standing here looking strange. Please, and it follows me. Please remember that there are those of us who have been on this journey for quite some time. And Abu Ames is certainly one that has been on this journey for decades. So we're pleased and grateful that he's here with us today to lead us with the opening of the way. I'm going to come back over here, leave it there, and then I'm going to move. And it's going to stay with you.
Greetings, family. My name is, well, I'm one of the head letters of the Shrine of Ma'at, but I am Abu Ames Ma Kuti Ma'at Amin Ra. And today I will be leading you in the opening of the way. So what I need you to do is all rise and get into the pose of adoration. One left foot forward, right foot lock. And here we go with the sounds of life.
Ignore the ringing. It's fine. Just do what you got to do.
All right. Naturak, nebet het.
Netrak in bed het.
Nuke in bed het.
Nuke in bed het.
Naturak happy.
Netrak happy.
Nuke happy.
Nuke happy.
Twinter.
Twinter.
Turn to you. A network circuit.
A network circuit.
Nuke circuit.
Nuke circuit.
A network capsanute.
A network capsanute.
Nuke capsanute.
Nuke capsanute.
Tua enter.
Twa winter.
A network us. Set.
Us.
A network us.
Us.
You're right. A network us.
Nuke us.
Nuke us.
A network set.
A network set.
A nuke set.
Nuke set.
Tua enter.
Twa winter.
A network neat.
A network neat.
Nuke neat.
Nuke neat.
A network duamu def.
A network duamutef.
Nuke duamu def.
Nuke duamutef.
Tua enter.
Twa winter.
A network newt.
A network newt.
Nuke newt.
Nuke newt.
A network geb.
A network gab.
Nuke geb.
Nuke gab.
Tua enter.
Twa winter.
A network shoe.
A network shoe.
Shoe.
Shoe. Shoe.
Shoe.
Shoe. Nuke
Nuke
shoe.
Nuke shoe.
A network tefnut.
A network
Tefnut.
tefnut.
Tefnut. Tefnut. Tefnut. Tefnut.
Nuke tefnut.
Twa
Twa
winter.
winter.
A network paut neteru.
A
Network
network
paut interu. Nuke
Paut
paut.
neteru.
Nuke paut interu.
A network in boo neteru.
Network and boo interu.
Nuke in boo neteru.
Nuke and boo interu.
Tua enter.
Twa winter.
Dwa winter. Dwa 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 dwa. Stay there. Stay there. Stay there. Dwa dwa dwa. Dwa to Abu Ames for leading us in the opening of the way. Just really quickly, I want to ask, when do you think you learned that?
Well, as a member before coming to the Shrine, I was a first member of the Shrine of Patah, and I had the blessings of being taught it by Baba Haru in Kemetic 101. I remember going after work, going down to China. At the time, he had us
Chinatown.
Chinatown.
Yeah.
Upstairs in the classroom. And that was my awakening, because I had a big binder. I was walking around with all these information I had gathered from being awakened. I was awakened in the military. And so someone said, you need to go down to this place. And my mentor, his name also had my aunt in it. So
Really?
Patah and all that. So he was Kapata Mahat Netaru. I hope to find this brother. And so that was that ringing said, let me come here, and it was great.
Right, yeah.
And then
That's decades ago now.
yeah,
Because Baba Heru was not even he's not in that, you're talking about Canal Street. He's not even on Canal anymore. So this is decades ago.
We're talking about let's share. Well, yes, I am an elder, but I look good. I look good. Oh, this is in the mid-90s.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
And I had the blessings of running, coming to youth, being sent to you for counseling, and found out that you had a shrine. And I've been one of your warriors ever since.
Two, yes, you have. This is absolutely true. So I want to say dua to Abu Ames, and I'm glad he's on camera, because some of the other priests are going to be jealous. Good, be jealous. They're going to say, how come he get to be there? We haven't been there in a while. So anyway, Abu Ames is here. He's nearby, right? He's like right above New York City. So he's here he works in New York City, so he's here all the time. So dua to Abu Ames again for assisting us.
And family, you will see more of us as we were sharing. We went through 3 devastating years of a pandemic, not just here, but worldwide. And so like everything has to reboot and refreshing itself. We're doing that.
Right.
But in that time, we were not sleeping. They were at work. Our interviews here were at work, and they were preparing warriors and upcoming people like myself. So it's 9 of us. It's 9 of us that have just finished in December. And so you will hear more of us. You will see more of us. And like all things, it takes time, but family, we are here.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why just be patient and breathe. We in a new season. We are growing.
Mm-hmm.
And they haven't seen the likes of us yet.
Dwa. Ahmed is always going to say something interesting.
Okay, so I'll be standing by to help.
Yes. You'll see him more during Kemetic Ascension. You may remember that today we are supposed to be building an altar. And I asked during last Kemetic Ascension who we should build an altar to. So the answer I believe I received is that we should try to build an altar to Djehuty. And so that is what we're going to do today. During our word from the Sebaid, we're going to try to be a little bit interactive today. This means that in a few moments, Anika is going to put the link to our StreamYard in the chat. And we want for you to be prepared to come on and show us your altar. Remember, that was your homework, right? Be prepared to tell us about the altar that you are building or have built. So that is what we would love for you to do today. We're looking forward to that. But before we get to that, we have to go into what we call Hesi. Anika, what have we cooked up today?
So we have that song by the wonderful Schaefers that are here with us today called Take This Car.
Wonderful. So Take This Car with the Schaefers, full members of the shrine, doing the work, and also ensuring that Hesi in the shrine is as beautiful as it needs to be. So let me say dua to them. Here is Take This Car.
Great one who became sky.
I meant to actually bring
Every place is filled with your beauty. Oh, strong one who gives strength from on high. Every place is filled with your beauty. Oh, mighty one, there is none like you. Every place is filled with your beauty. You possess the whole of the earth as it is stretched beneath you. You enfold the earth and all the things in your arms. Please take this cause you to be an indestructible start within you. Oh, great one who became sky. Every place is filled with your beauty. Oh, strong one who gives strength from on high. Every place is filled with your beauty. Oh, mighty one, there is none like you. Every place is filled with your beauty. You possess the whole of the earth as it is stretched beneath you. You enfold the earth and all the things in your arms. Please take this cause you to be an indestructible start within you. Please take this cause you to be an indestructible start within you.
Homage to you, Malaka. Behold, I have come. I have appeared in glory. I am strong. I am pure and light.
Please take this cause you.
I have brought oil and incense. May truth
Please take this cause you.
reach the nose of rock.
Please take this card to you. Please take this card to you. Please take this card to you. To be an indestructible start within you. Oh, great one, who became sky, mighty one, there is none like. Every place is filled with your beauty. Every place is filled with your beauty. Strong one who gives strength from on high, mighty one, there is none like. Every place is filled with your beauty.
Please take this card to be an indestructible start within you.
Please take this card to you.
To be an indestructible start within you.
Please take this card to you.
Okay.
Ankh and Ma'at. I love that Hesse. It was created by the Schaeffers. So this is one that they wrote and performed and mastered and produced. It is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. You can see the talent that they display on such a regular basis. And we're honored to have them as part of our institution. So dua to them once again. I hope that things are going well in Kemet. What time is it where you are? What time is it where they are? I think they're 6 hours ahead.
Now, 6 hours.
6 hours, right?
It's 4 hours.
It's 4 hours
o'clock
ahead?
and 4. It's 4:43 p.m.
Oh, good. Okay, so they're in their afternoon, right?
Mhm.
They're in their afternoon. Well, we're in our afternoon too, but they're in their later afternoon. They're almost in the evening. So, okay. Let us talk a bit about altars and sacred spaces before we build one. Anika, by the way, you should know we're going to put the StreamYard into the chat. In order for Anika to even consider that you are going to be sent live, you can imagine, first of all, you have to have your camera on. We have to see you. You should be someone who we recognize. You see how we do our Kemetic call out the beginning of every Kemetic Ascension? We would rather stick with folks we recognize, primarily also full members of the shrine, because that would ensure that we're not going to have folks that exist on the internet simply to cause chaos and terror, right? Because sometimes when you put your StreamYard out, someone comes in and does some strange stuff. So know that if you'd like to come on to show us your altar, you're going to need to put on, you should be someone we recognize, and you should also be, you should also have your camera on so we can see you, okay? All right. So let's talk about sacred spaces for a few moments before we get into actually building an altar. So you're seeing an image here, right? Does anyone know what temple you are seeing? What temple is that? It's a large New Kingdom temple. That's that massive opening entrance. What did the Greeks call that entrance? What did the Kemetic people call that entrance? And in front of it, you're seeing so many images that are connected to purification, so many images that are connected to sacred spaces, so many images that are connected to altars, and also individuals who we know were connected to these processes. First off, let me talk about sacred spaces a little bit. By the way, the next slide has did you go to the next slide yet? Good. Because the next slide has the name of the temple on it. Did we get any answers yet?
No.
No?
Well, Schaefer said Sebket entrance.
Yes, the entrance is called a sebket. Yes. The Greeks call these pylons. Unfortunately, if you are going to do research on them, you're probably still going to have to look for the word pylon. But definitely our ancestors called this a sebket. Does anyone know which sebket this is from? No answers? Well, here's the answer. You are looking at the entrance to the temple known as Philae today. Philae. And our ancestors likely called this Pilak. Pilak is probably the earliest name of it. It is a temple that is consecrated to Ast, Heru, and Asar, but primarily to Ast. And it is all the way in the south of modern Egypt, of Kemet, at a place that we generally call Aswan. It is one of the most intact Sebketiyu in the front. But as you go further in, you are going to see the rampant damage that later people, particularly the early Christians, did to this space. Anyway, we're not talking about that today. I want you to recognize that I believe the best example of purification protocol comes from the ancient Kemetic temple. The best example of a purification protocol comes from the ancient Kemetic temple. And you should know that these temples used geographic position, elements, sound, dance, ritual, symbol, all for purification. So they had considered purification for an extended period, for thousands of years. And those practitioners, the Wenwet, the priesthood of these temples, were the folks who focused on these practices. Take a look at two priests here doing their sacred work. Can you see that these are images of purification? Can you see that the person on the right is having their hands purified? Right? A priest behind them is purifying with water, likely. This is likely with water. Now, there may be things in the water, herbs, flowers, but it's primarily being done with water. And on the left, you are seeing one of the rulers be purified as well. So here you are getting a sense of the importance of purification. You will see this all over Kemetic imagery. It is of critical importance. In the Kemetic temple, you should know that the high priest would break the seal, walk to the statue of the divine with a torch, pray, use incense. They would wash the statue, which might have been of solid gold. They would place fresh clothing on the statue, amulets on it, and place offerings of drink and food near it. The singers would offer hymns of praise. And so that is the way that they would invoke the symbolic, invoke the energetic purification and offering to the divine. And at the end of the day, the priest would go into the shrine and back out, erasing their footsteps. Even their footsteps could be, removing the footsteps could be a symbol of purification. Just think of it that way. That is the rigorous protocol that these individuals utilize. Take a look at these individuals here, giving honor to Asar. You're seeing Asar there. By the way, what you are also seeing in front of Asar are offerings of flowers. So you can see the lotuses growing towards him. Offerings on an offering table. I think it's fascinating that we often see in Kemet a type of altar that I don't see anywhere else in the modern world. It looks like a pedestal, and then it has a flat top on top of it. The only place you see those are in museums now, but they were all over the ancient Kemetic world. There were probably millions of these created. Millions. Where are they today? And why is it that the modern practitioners like myself and others have not replicated these beautiful altar spaces. Beautiful, beautiful. I think it's wonderful. And you can see that this altar is piled high with offerings for Asar. Here you're also seeing an image of a purification vessel. I'm going through this part quickly because we want to get to the practical part. But as you look at it, you're seeing this is a wab bowl. And it actually, the word wab is a compound word. The bowl itself really has the sound wa, and the feet, the leg, is the book. So that's why this is called wab. And you might notice that this bowl is a bowl that is tilted forward, and like I said, it has feet. If you have a bowl that is tilted and it has feet, implying movement, you should assume that whatever liquid that is contained in this bowl would be spilling. That is the conceptual concept of this bowl, because this wab means purification. So imagine that you are seeing an active, a symbolic depiction of purification. This bowl purifies as it moves. And it is also the title of the priest that focused on purification. They were known as the Wab priest. The Wab priest. In fact, I remember a sister in the Shrada Patah when we were young Kamites, and her name was Wabet. I have no idea where Wabet is these days, but her name was Wabet. In those days, I did not know what it meant. She was probably one of the first people that I met when I was initiated into the Shrine Patah. Here we see also another offering to Asar, right? Another offering to Asar. And understand in the Kemetic temple, the ways that the priest would maintain their ritual purification is that they would take regular ritual baths, including in cold water. That does not sound like fun. That does not sound like fun. Now, I'm going to assume that their cold water isn't like our cold water. They were living in the desert. I have not seen any images of refrigerators. I've not seen any images of ice, but clearly they would have had cooled water that they would have bathed in as well, because the cool water allowed other things to be purified as well. Well, the full conversation of that is for another time. They had to shave every day. Sometimes you see the images of the priest and they have no body hair. They would shave off their eyebrows, their mustaches, everything. Now, I have not seen an image of a woman with all of her hair cut off, but if this is what the priest did, this is what they did. This is what they did. Now, did they do this were they always completely bald? No. It was when they were on duty, their period of duty in the temple, that they would do that. In addition to that, they could only wear linen clothing. They could only wear linen clothing, and it had to be white. They could wear no animal products. They could consume no animal products. Sometimes people say to me, where is it that you get the idea that the Kemetic people advanced vegetarianism or veganism? And I say, well, we are looking at the highest standard that they created, and that highest standard is the manner in which we see the priests behave. And so that is one of the reasons why so many of the Kemetic communities refrain from eating meat. I really would love to see you find another community earlier that refrained from flesh. In many ways, they were the first plant-based people, right? You see that term they use, plant-based? It's a newer term, right? They were the first ones to do that. You should know that they also did not, when they were on duty, eat garlic or onion or those things, because they believed that those things were odoriferous, and in purification, they only wanted to be completely clean and smell clean as well. So you could not eat those things during the time you're on duty either. You should know that they also did not engage in intercourse during this time. Does that mean that the priests were celibate? Only when they were on duty. We have lots of stories of priests with children. So obviously they had children. They were engaging in intercourse when they weren't on duty. And so that's something that we did. So Think about cleaning your Kemetic temple. These are things that you should try to add to your tradition. And as we talk about sacred spaces, take a look at this image. What are you seeing here? Why did I include this in the image of a sacred space? What is attempted to be happening here? Let's see if anyone can tell us. Don't just tell me it's Barack Obama. I know that's Barack Hussein Obama. I'm asking, why did I include this image in discussing sacred spaces? Where is he? Where is he sitting? What is happening? Let's see if we get some answers. Thoughts? What do you think? I'm going to pause because I want to see what people are going to say. What did you say? He's making jokes over there. He's making jokes. Amos is known to make jokes. Any answers?
Since the Oval Office.
He's in the Oval Office, yes, but he's sitting at a particular place.
Very strong.
What is that place that he's sitting at called? Do you know it has a name? Did you know that has a name? How many of you know the name without Googling? Without Googling.
Resolution desk.
The Resolute Desk. That is called the Resolute Desk. That sits. Who answered that? Shenka. It's called the Resolute Desk, yes. And it is where the president sits in the Oval Office. It's supposed to be a desk that was created for the purpose of leading the country. And I would love to be able to get a closer look at what it is created, about the images that are on it. But I hit up my boy Barry Obama, and he didn't hit me back, so I wasn't able to go see it closely. Look at Anika shaking her head like, Jabari, it's crazy. He didn't hit me back, so I didn't get to see it up close. But I would love to know what the images are of it. I know just on the corners I am seeing the images of power from the Roman Empire. But I wonder what other images I am seeing.
Shenka said it was made from boats and was given as a gift of the Queen of England.
Woo! Yes. So this is an important piece of furniture. It ain't just a desk. I also want you to notice something else. Do you notice that there's something else interesting happening with him sitting there? I wonder if anyone picked up on it.
Raw energy.
Oh, raw energy. Tell us what you're seeing, Amos. Amos is a ringer. What do you see?
Well, you see the light that's coming through the raw energy that is even being magnified through the window, and it seems to put a glow around him.
That is what I was asking. Do you notice that he is bathed in sunlight? This is not unintentional. The practices of ritual purification that were created by your ancient African ancestors were attempted to be replicated by those individuals who created this seat of power in the United States. You might notice that the White House has different rooms that have different colors. And you might even know that the White House is at the end of a particular street. What street is it at the end of? What is the purpose of that street? Why was it placed there? What's the address of the White House? What's the address? You must know, right? Who knows? Because this will tell us something about you seeing the commander-in-chief of the United States cloaked in light. Any thoughts?
Jason says 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I want you to know that that street that he is on, by the way, the 1600, you know that they could have given him any address, right? You know that they intentionally left that address as 1600 because 1 and 6 make 7. There is an important numerological point here. And that very street that he's on was plotted that way by a free African. Who am I referring to? You could say it.
His last name, Benjamin Banneker. I forgot how you pronounce it.
Benjamin Banneker.
Banneker.
There are some people that believe that his name Banneker might have been Banaki at some point. And it might be a reference to the group of people that he came from. But I want you to understand that Benjamin Banneker, a free African, was paid by George Washington and others of the quote-unquote founding fathers because of his extremely adroit mind. And they paid him to stay in a tent and measure and chart the movements of Ra. And that 16th Street, that street that's there, was created so that it could chart the course of the sun at its height during the winter solstice. So the light that is coming in and basking upon Barack Hussein Obama is not in error. And in fact, I bet the fact that that light is on him now was intentional. Sometimes when you're sitting at your desk and you get a lot of light coming in, you might say, oh, I got to close these blinds. I can't see. No, I'm sure that they asked him to sit there at that time to receive the rays of Ra or the Ra's of Re. Did you hear what I said? And that's the reason why the White House has these rooms that are of different colors, because the White House is supposed to be like a prism, a device to break up light, to break up energy into its constituent parts for use. And so if this man is sitting here in the light, in the White House, you have to understand that those people who decided the White House, who forced those Africans to construct it, and to even get a free African to plot the very street, were trying to do what you did in your Kemetic temple. This picture is not by mistake. It is by design. This is important. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, yes. Barack Obama is left-handed.
Yes, he is.
And as you can see, the light shines on his. And you won't see it on the right, but you'll see it on his left.
It is likely that this is intentional. Whoever took this picture, I would love to be able to speak to them about how he was posed for this picture. They might say, oh, he wasn't posed. Someone asked him to sit there at that time. This is not by accident.
We have another comment.
Yes. What's the other comment?
It said that Obama has altered his space by including pictures of what is most important to him.
Yes. You know that's what, who said that?
The Djehuty.
Okay. Because that's where I was going next. Not only is this a space that is supposed to be sanctified by Ra, but Obama got an altar on it.
Yes.
Do you see behind him? He has images of his family. Now, I know so many of us who sit at desks have images of those people who we love, those people who are dear to us, near our desk. I argue, this is a Jabari Osaze concept. I argue that this is a secular version of the ancient shrine, the ancient altar. That your altar is supposed to be able to galvanize those things that are important to you for your energy, for your generative energy. And so when you see folks with all these pictures of their family around, that is what they're doing. They may not call it an altar, but you better understand that is where it comes from. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think there has been another time that there has been that many pictures of Africans on the altar behind the Resolute desk. By the way, the first picture, you can look closely and see that That's Michelle right there. You can see the first picture is Michelle. Can you see that's Michelle? By the way, that's a candid photo of Michelle. That's not Michelle standing smiling with the flag behind her. He said, I want to look at my queen the way that she appears in my goggles. That's what he said. And I know because I'm a black man, and that's what I would do. That's what I would do. One of my favorite pictures of Anika is her when we were very young. I snapped a picture of her. We were walking in a path and she just looked back. And I took that picture. And that's one of my favorite pictures of my queen. It's interesting. It's a similar picture. It's an unposed picture. It's a candid shot that he has. As he has to do his work, sometimes he probably have to look behind and say, what the hell am I doing this for? This ain't easy. You know this is an early picture because it looked like he has dark colored hair. Boy, those 8 years in the White House aged this man. I'm telling you. He went in there looking like Michael B. Jordan, came out looking like Morgan Freeman. I'm telling you, those 8 years. Anyway, you have to understand that this is an altar, okay? I won't even go into the positioning of the flags and all those other things. These are things for you to ponder. But I want you to open your conception of what an altar is. Let's continue. So, you must also see that in this image, you are seeing another altar. Remember I talked to you about the shape of the Kemetic altar? Well, this is the Djed. In many ways, the Djed is an altar. An altar to what? An altar. Well, before I even tell you that, do you see the 3 symbols? There's really 4 symbols if you include the Djed in the middle. Some of you are relatively new and have no idea what I'm talking about. Do you see this pillar in the middle that these 2 queens are giving energy to? Well, the top of this pillar has 4 platforms. 1, 2, 3, 4. This symbol is called the Djed pillar or the Djed column. It is a symbol of endurance, a symbol of stability, a symbol of eternity in some instances as well. And you might notice that it has, if you look closely, 2 eyes in that second area. Why? Because it is a symbol for the resurrection of Asar. That is what you are seeing. And so this particular image is supposed to remind us of the resurrection of Asar. It is occurring in a rocky place. Do you notice the rocky area behind? And how do we know it's the soul? You notice the Ankh in the middle, the symbol of life, right? The symbol of everlasting life. You recognize that symbol, but do you see the 2 other symbols? What are the arms doing? This is a version of the Ka, the soul, the Kemetic spirit for soul, and that soul is touching the sun. This is the resurrection of Asar to the sun. His enlightened resurrection. And that is why these 2 queens are actually smiling in this image. Because this is when he was resurrected into heaven. Why am I saying into heaven? Jabbar, you just be sticking things in there because you want it to sound like it's Christianity. No, you just said that because you don't see the other symbol. Do you notice that the sun is touching this bar that has these triangular pieces on the end? That is a glyph. It means it is pet. That means heaven. Asar's soul is resurrected from a rocky place with 2 queens witnessing his resurrection into heaven. That is what you are seeing. And it ain't just any queens. These are the golden ladies. They sit on the symbol for Nub. How else do you see it's a rocky place? This is in the horizon. Did you notice these small rocky cliffs here on both sides. That is another glyph. What is the name of that glyph? Akhet. It means horizon. The horizon is where the light pierces the darkness. You think this is just a beautiful image, but you had better know. You need to have your mentals understand that this is an image of the resurrection of the star, his victory over death. And we know what happens as the sun rises. The sun rises because we also see the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, these 6 baboons. And baboons, the Hamadras baboon, is known to awake in the morning when the sun rises, and they put their hands up in the pose of adoration and go, woo, woo, woo. So this is this image. You are seeing an image of resurrection. But aren't you also seeing his soul on an altar? That's what the jet is here. What is an altar? An altar is simply an elevated space which spiritual rites are performed in. And there are many different types of altars. There's an ancestral altar. There's a sacrificial or spiritual altar. There's a manifestation altar, an altar where you're doing your work to bring something into existence. And there may even be subliminal altars, altars that you don't recognize. That's what you're seeing here. Of course, you might not have even noticed that in some ways, the queen on the right, her headdress is also an altar. It's a description of a space, right? There are glyphs here. This rectangular piece is the house. This little semicircle here is the T sound. And the bowl on top is the one that says she's a lady of authority. So her name is Nebet-Het or Nbet-Het, the lady of the house. Neb is the bowl. Het is the house. And the Nebet means she's the lady. You know, lady is supposed to be the female counterpart for Lord. Did you know that? I know we just use it like lady, but the opposite, the complement to lady is Lord. So she is the lady of the house. This is important. And you should recognize, here's the teaching that Baba Heru would always say. He would say, well, when you look at this sacred space, this house, there's always this smaller area that is placed in there. What is that? He would say he believed that was the altar space in that space. That's what Baba would say. Let's continue. Here are some altar tables, some other altar tables. This altar table is meant to look like a glyph. What glyph is it supposed to be replicating? Do you notice that the altar table on the left has the image of an altar on it? Look at it closely. Do this for me. Can you see that this is an image of an altar on an altar?
Again.
Huh?
You weren't on screen.
Oh, I'm saying do this for me. Look at it upside down. And you can see that this is an altar that has an etched image in stone of an altar. Obviously, it's an altar that often people use liquids on. That's why it has these two vessel areas here and why it has this funnel piece here. But you should know the whole thing is supposed to look like one of the symbols of an altar. What are the words that represent altar? Well, one of the words is the word that we use for peace. Because in many ways, that name is also the word for offering. So it can be known as a hetep or hotep. That's what you're seeing. This is the glyph for hotep. You're seeing it here as well. Do you notice the space now? These are two altar spaces. They are elevated and they are used for sacrifice. Now, when I say sacrifice, does that mean they're killing animals on this altar? I doubt that greatly. I believe that what they are doing primarily is they are providing things, putting things on the altar that are important to them. And at the end of the day, they return, they take it back, and they likely eat it if it's food. Sometimes you'll see the foreleg of a bull. Can you see it right here? People often say, well, obviously it was meat. Now, let's be clear. I believe that it was probably the case that sometimes they would have the foreleg of the bull in the altar. But this is so much more than literally the foreleg of a bull, because the Kemetic people saw the foreleg of a bull as a description of a constellation. This ain't as literal as you might think. So, this is of critical importance. Look at this altar. This altar is loaded down with offerings to Asar. This is one of the altars that are described in the space to a great queen as she gives offering to Asar. Who is this lady? You can see that the Shen here says Mut
Sorry. It's Mut Nefertari.
Nefertari. I'm reading it, but yeah, it's Mut. I knew I recognize her. It's Mut Nefertari. Who is Mut Nefertari?
She was the mother of.
She's the great queen of someone.
Well, that's.
Do we have any answers? Almas is trying to remember. Look at him scratching his head. He's like, "Oh, having a senior moment." That's what he's thinking.
Ramesses II.
Ramesses II, Usur Ma'at Rasa Tepin Ras, chief wife. That's who this is. 19th dynasty. Powerful, powerful, powerful image that she is giving offerings to Asar. Let's continue. Here are some of the words that you can use for altar. Did you know that our ancestors had words for altar? Sometimes altar was known as Abba, Wujwa. Am I saying that second one right? Wajhu.
Mm-hmm.
Or Wejhu. Can you see it's even a symbol of an altar? And there's also Hawut is Hawet. I think that's the altar that looks like one of the altars that looks like the pedestal, by the way. You also see Nebet, Hebet, and Hawi or Hai. These are all names that our Kemetic ancestors used for altars. One of the other ones that I don't have the glyphs for that I often see is Sa'ut. Sa'ut is also a word that is used for altar. These are all terms that are used for altar. And you're seeing another altar stone on the right. Look at all of these altars. You may not recognize that many people in modern traditions have altars. By the way, you're seeing a Wiccan altar on the left. That's a Wiccan altar. Interesting, right? They have some stuff. People are like, oh, I'm so scared of their altar. Stop it. That's just their altar. It's not the way I would do it, but they got an altar, so they have an altar. I'm surprised that there aren't Kemetic images on here. At least I don't see any right now, because they often have Kemetic images on there. In the middle, you are seeing an altar to what tradition?
That's Donna. That's out of Donna.
Why do you think it's out of Ghana?
The figure, the statue in the middle.
The statue in the middle is a Ghanaian statue. Yeah, so this is an Akan altar. This is an Akan altar. And then all the way on the right, these fine Tom who are eating dinner, they have no idea that behind them is an altar. There is a Buddhist altar behind them. Do you see? It has all of those aspects of altar building, right?
In the restaurant in Manhattan.
This one, I believe, is in Manhattan, yes. Yes. So you should know that we see altars all over the place. Haven't you ever gone to a Chinese restaurant and noticed that behind them they have a small altar? Haven't you ever gone any place that is operated by Russian people who are Russian Orthodox and noticed that they have altars behind them? By the way, if you ask about them, they get very uncomfortable because Westerners tend to be uncomfortable with all the concept of an altar. I remember taking Anika to a spa day and seeing a small altar behind the cash register. And on the altar was the Black Madonna and Child. And while I was paying, the woman who was taking my money noticed I was fixated on it. She had fixed her mouth to be ready to say something because she knew I was going to ask. I probably was not the only African to say, hey, why you got a Black Mary and a Black Jesus behind you? So I said, I have a question to ask you. She said, about the icon? Yes, they get dark because of the candles. Before I said anything else. Anyway, just know that you will see altars in so many different spaces. Why do people have altars? Because I always say that doing your altar work will alter your condition. Doing your altar, ALTAR work, will alter ALTER your condition. That's what I say. This is the place where you bring things into being, when you create moments, when you speak to ancestors. This is where you do your work. Is there something that you want to appear in your life? A fundamental principle of Kemetic spirituality, a fundamental principle of the universe, is that which you feed is that which lives. That which you feed is that which lives. Is there something that keeps showing up in your life that you want to disappear? Why does this keep happening? What do I keep getting the same man or same woman and they keep doing the same stuff even though I ended the last relationship? The new person is doing the same thing. That which you feed is that which lives. Why is it that the stuff that I want in my life is not appearing? Ask yourself a question. Are you feeding it? Now, in the complete Western sense, I'm talking about investing and I'm talking about having dividends. I'm talking about making an investment and then being able to have something which grows in value. You know that the Western world is secular, right? And they would love to take spirit out of everything. Well, ain't that also them trying to secularize the fundamental principle of the universe? That which you feed is that which lives. That which you feed is that which lives. That's all they've done. They put dollar signs next to a spiritual principle. And don't they worship it? If you go down to Wall Street, now listen, we live in New York City. If you go down to Wall Street is a veritable altar to Western capitalism. And it was the African that was the offering. That's the reason why you actually have auction blocks along the very wall that gave that street its name. Africans built it and Africans were exploited on it. Africans were the offering on the altar of American capitalism. That which you feed is that which lives. Africans built that wall to keep the Native Americans out. Africans, let me say that again. Africans were forced to build that wall to keep Native Americans out. And their families were torn asunder right on auction blocks on that wall. We could go to Wall Street right now and I can tell you there was an auction block right here. Right here. The records are replete. So you might think that this world is secular. It is not. They have simply taken the deeper understanding out of the principles of the universe. Spirituality is understanding the relationships and the nature of the universe. Let's keep it real. That is what spirituality is. That's what spirituality is. When they tell you, I don't think you understand the rule of compounded interest, say, no, I am a vessel of Ma'at. I understand that which you feed is that which lives. That is what it is. Let me get off the soapbox for a second and get back to altars. I want you to understand what we are seeing. Other people have used altars to empower themselves. And there are some Africans that have been confused that when they use their understanding of these principles, this is devil's work. This is evil. Well, I was on Sonetta once, and one brother came on and said, why hasn't Jabari ever told us that he does divination on altars? And he looked at me and I said, I do divination on altars. And he was like, look, because he thought that I was going to be like, oh, that's the secret. He's not going to tell us. I was like, no, I do that. I do it all the time. He said, how come you don't show us? I said, brother, I'm sitting in front of an altar. There's an altar right here. You saw me light the incense before, I wanted to say, yo, foolish behind, but I didn't say that. Before you got on to talk to me. Because I knew I was galvanizing divine energy. What do you think I'm doing? I'm burning incense just so I like to burn things? I'm a pyromaniac? We have to use those things that we brought into the world in excellence once more. And stop being afraid of being ourselves. Because when we were ourselves, we were the veritable masters of the physical universe. We were the charters of the unknown universe. Stop being afraid of being an African. By the way, this picture is of the church I grew up in. In fact, no, this is a newer picture. I was looking for the two places where my family usually sits because I was thinking, is my family in the picture? I got this picture online. But I bet you my family might actually be in the. I never thought to look to see if my family were in the picture. By the way, it's so strange to get a picture online of the church you grew up in and to recognize the people in the picture, by the way. Anyway, this is a Roman Catholic space. But don't you see that there's an elevated space on which they do work? Don't you notice that there's a further elevated space behind them? People will call that what? In the church, they call it what? An altar. Now, when I decide to put African images on that altar and to utilize African spirituality, I'm evil. But just on Sunday, some of these same people went up there, had a Tamhu Mary and Tamhu images of the Gospels, and they were completely comfortable when the priest did it. Some of these people, I will not point them out. Some of these very people, I could point them out, will not step foot into this house because we have altars. And one of the people in this picture, I will not point them out, said to me, but don't you know that that's like devil's work? I said to them, but doesn't the priest work on the altar in church? And guess what she said to me? But he's a priest. And I looked at her and I literally took off my glasses and I said, so am I.
But a true woman.
And she stopped for a second because she was going to protest. And then she had to listen to what I said. And she had to actually stop speaking for a minute because she realized I need to give this a little bit more thought before I speak to him about this further. And she said, well, it's only the priest that goes to the altar. I said, no, many of my friends would go with him and do the work on the altar. And she said, you're talking about the altar boys? I said, yeah, they're altar boys. Why can the children do it and you not do it in your own home? We have to get back to our own traditions. Yes, Anika.
So there's a question. In your point of view, is there a difference between an altar and a shrine, or are they the same thing? Or to you, are they the same thing?
When I use the word shrine, I am usually referring to the institution or the edifice in which the altar work occurs. I know that there's some people who might say that they're looking at a shrine, but I would say that you're actually looking at an altar. The place where you do it is the shrine. So that in that instance, those words end up becoming used synonymously. Were you going to say something to Al-Bahamas? Look like you had your hand raised.
Yes.
Do you want to say something?
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
Well, the person that came to you, like yourself and me, we were brought up in the Roman Catholic Church. And it's in the Roman Catholic tradition, we did have altars in our homes. So for her to say that, that was not someone who was really practicing true Catholicism. So you have those that even in their own tradition do not understand their own tradition.
But I'll tell you this much. They probably wouldn't call it an altar.
Oh no, we would call
it was an altar.
Yeah, that's what we called it.
It was an altar.
Yeah.
My mother kept a space that had the images of those loved ones that passed on, and she would light a candle when she prayed. That is an altar. In fact, in this very space, before they did the work, this area right back here by the staircase used to have a bunch of candles, and you could go in. You know those little cards that you get at funerals? You know, a little card. Sometimes you get the program, but you also get a little card. People would take that card, put it by the candle, light the candle, and pray. That was an ancestral altar. I'm going to tell you that this church, when I grew up in it, had to change it to electric candles. When you put a quarter in, by the way, that was another way for them to commodify and to commercialize your work. But they had to do that because people were doing it so often that they literally started a fire in the church. And then they had the nerve to say that when you do altar work, you doing Satan's business. What did you do at 7 a.m. before the Mass? Yes. I want you to now, once again, look at some other altars. Look at this ancestor in an altar to Asar. Look at this. This is another altar here that has Heru and Djehuty tying the knot. On the top of that, that's an altar. That's where work would have occurred. I'm not going to talk about much about ritual purification in this description. I'm going to stop here and build an altar. And I want to know if there is anyone that wants to come on. Do you have people that are on already?
They were, but they checked out.
I was talking too long. Come on, y'all. Y'all got to be patient. I'm going to build an altar with the help of Abu Ames to Djehuty, because that's the one I was asked to do. So now listen, usually when I build an altar, I try to use a natural item, right? So I usually have something built of stone, built of wood. In this instance, this is going to just be a small traveling altar, a portable altar that we're building. So I'm just using I wonder if I can get this thing to go a little lower. Come down. Down. It's not doing it. It's not listening to me.
I'll hold this and you can adjust.
I'll just do that. So you can see a little bit further down. And I want you to notice that I'm going to use this folding table simply because it's not a permanent altar. And I want you to see what I'm doing. So this is a folding table, right? Yes. And from here, what we would do, you can put this on, is we would usually cover it. What are the things that I would put on my altar? I would always, I would dress the altar. Usually I would purify the altar. You didn't see me do that part. Usually what I do is I purify the altar. I sometimes just use water. You could use soap, but often people will also use Florida water. Florida water is a water in which flowers were left in, and a little bit of alcohol. So it has alcohol content.
Yes.
Smells good, right? Some people say it's Florida water because it comes from Florida. No, this was made in New Jersey. This is the most common blend of Florida water, Murray and Landman's Florida water. But you should know that what essentially has happened is they use this water, and it just simply has a little bit of alcohol, denatured water, fragrances. They put colors in this now, blue color and yellow color. I don't remember it having that before. But anyway, know that they soak petals of flowers in it. And so it's like Florida. That's where they get it from. Okay? It's not because it was made down south in the United States. By the way, why is it that the Shrine of Ma'at is not making this yet? What would stop us from making our own purification water? Now, of course, they would say, y'all just trying to sell snake oil. No, this is something that you can use. We would actually prove that it has antiseptic qualities. It's for purification. Anyway.
So thought that we can put in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We need more personnel to be able to do that. So we've covered this now. And I like to also add some imagery, because imagery is what helps us focus the attention. So you can see that we have this cloth. Let me show it to them more clearly first. We have this cloth. This is a scarf that we got from Kemetic. By the way, usually when I see scarves, I just run away. But this one I thought was beautiful. I have a few of them. You can see it has glyphs on it. I've never tried to read it. There are some actual words on it, but I don't know if they're full paragraphs. I do see some words and some authentic images. In fact, I don't see any non-authentic images yet, but I don't know. I'd have to try to read it. And that's certainly more in Anika's lane than it is in mine. But as we put this together, we said that we were going to make this altar to Djehuty. Are there people who are on, Anika?
Not yet.
Okay. So I want to show you what I would do. Now, let's assume that I've already purified myself. Because if I'm going to do purification of the altar and then come with things that are less than purified, what am I doing? Right?
You're not making it pure.
That's right. I'm fouling it. So I'm going to just show you. I'm going to just put a little Florida water in my hand. Just a little. You want some? Just a little. Now, what else might Anika and I use for purification? You have seen us, if you've watched our solstice and equinox celebrations, we've also used water from the Hapi. We bring back water from the Hapi every year. In fact, when we are traveling in Kemet, we take a large water bottle, and when we're in Aswan, where the water is cleaner, I bend over in the boat, and I am sure to get as much water as I can. By the way, everyone in the boat finds that humorous because a few times it looked like I almost fell in. So they also laugh at me while they're doing it.
The Jati is in.
Say again?
The Jati is in.
The Jati is in.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I wish I could see him up here. I should have put him up here as well. Does he? Are you putting him on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be wonderful. Maybe he wants to talk about the altar that he's working on it as well. So what would I do here? If this is an altar to Djehuty, some of the things that I might include, first of all, on any altar, I usually have something living. Maybe several things that are living. I might have a plant on an altar that I have to tend to. I often have food because I'm feeding the idea, the concept, the divine energy. By the way, do I just leave the food there and let it die? No, I take it there, I do my work, and I come back later and I eat it. Right? This is symbolism. This is symbolism. Our Kemetic ancestors are not so literal that when they put the food on the altar and came back and the food was still there, they were like, oh my goodness, the Neteru has not eaten the food. No, this was symbolism, right? But recognize that if you're focusing your attention on something, something else occurs. You ever notice how when something becomes clear to you, Now all of a sudden you see it all around your universe, right? If you've ever played punch buggy with your siblings in the car, you might have reckoned, you're like, I did not notice that everybody had a buggy. Well, the reality is, because you focused your attention, now the contours of your universe as you perceive it have changed. Changing your vision and your concept of your universe is powerful. What did Michael Jordan say he did before he had those amazing airborne dunks? He said he visualized it. That's what he said. Now we hear a lot about visualization. So what are some of the other things that I would put on this altar?
Well, since we're talking about Djehuty, and we know that he was the Nitaru of manifestation of writing and papyrus, we would have maybe a papyrus, a little papyrus thing. We would have a pen of some sort for writing. A feather.
Now, you know we're the Shrine of Ma'at, right? So I'm going to not just have a pen, I'm going to have a feather, a quill pen. I thought that was even more appropriate. Because remember, Djehuty is also the one that reads the scales. So since he reads the scales and the feather is on the scales, I thought that this was an apt way to do something for Djehuty.
We have Shenkai on as well.
Wonderful. And they're going to show us their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
I see she's preparing her space.
We about to see some stuff. Go ahead, practitioners. By the way, you should know that, where's my, I know I have it here somewhere. We actually have, there it is. Can you pass me the papyrus there? That's it. This is actually dried papyrus plant. The plant that was used to create the world's first paper. So when I pulled this off of my small altar that sits behind me as I work at my desk. So I just pulled this down. This is dried papyrus that we brought back from Kemetic. So there's the papyrus.
Okay.
You said what?
I wish I had gotten someone else there.
Yeah,
We didn't see.
We'll hook you up. So I was afraid to say that on camera because now someone else will ask me, "Can you bring me some papyrus?" He's one of the priests. Stop it. So as we go here,
a symbol of Djehuty, and you might not have anything with it, but he is also representing the moon.
Oh yes.
So if you have something with a crest or a moon, can it see? Okay.
Yes, they can. By the way, you should know if you don't have a statue of Djehuty, is that a problem? Oh my goodness, I can't make an altar to Djehuty because I don't have a statue. What?
You have other things.
You have other things, or you could even draw your own picture. By the way, I think if you draw your own picture, it may not be as amazing as your statue, unless you really got skills like that. But keep in mind, in some ways, that's an even higher vibration because you have evoked the energy and contained the energy that you are using. In this instance, we do have a statue. This is the statue that sits behind me as I work. Here's the statue of Djehuty. Can you see he even has the pen there? And he is writing. So let's put Djehuty on the statue, on the altar. I normally would wait a minute before I put him on, but let's put him on there now. Djehuty is also connected to, by the way, I have a few papyrus scrolls. This is real papyrus, so I could put this on here as well. Djehuty is connected to time.
Yes.
Sometimes you see him etching the story of time on the palm rib. Anika even said, too bad it's not Palm Sunday because you could have gone out there and taken some of their palm and used it. That'd been interesting. I'm sorry, we don't know you. Just give me the palm and let's go and make with it and let's go. But I think that this is another way to represent time. What am I looking at here?
They can't hear you on this. They're saying that you're speaking
Speak
too
up a
low.
little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. What we call it? A time sand time. I forgot what you call it.
So y'all help him out. What is this called?
An hourglass.
An hourglass.
That's what I wanted to say.
Certainly, it's an image that represents time. By the way, there's a brother in Harlem that sells some beautiful hourglasses. That's where I got that from.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I walked past and I saw his hourglasses, he said, I knew you was going to stop. I said, why? He said, because I saw that Ankh in your hand. And I said, so you thought I was going to go get something in time? He said, everyone I have ever seen with an Ankh stops here.
What street?
He said, what? Right on Malcolm X Boulevard, kind of across the street from oh goodness, what's the name of the most, but now I'm having a senior moment. The most popular soul food restaurant in Harlem is known as Sylvia's. He's kind of at around maybe 127th, and he's out there. Now that it's getting warm, he's going to be out there, right? So I love this. It's beautiful. He has several of them, right? And so that's something I would use. Definitely, I would also. So you have. Oh, and I should say that we want something live on here. I tried to get some things that related to mental acuity. By the way, almost anything in the natural world that is growing is going to help your brain with cognition. But one of the reasons why do you think I got a pineapple? Anika knows me. Why does Anika know why I might have gotten a pineapple?
Something that you can consume later.
Fibonacci series.
Yes, because I'm also thinking about the growth
spirals.
of the pineapple is a really excellent way to describe growth and development and production. And certainly it is not only something that I'm talking about cognitively, but mathematically.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what else Djehuty is connected to? Mathematics. What am I talking about when I say that series? There's a way in which each of these individual fruit, I think these are individual fruit, by the way. Someone told me that once. And the leaves they grow according to a mathematic principle. Do you notice how they're so wonderfully nested? This is supposedly the mathematical equation that the world occurs in. I'm gonna put a pineapple there. So I have something live, right? This is an offering to Djehuty. I also have the papyrus, a symbol of writing. It's no longer live, but that's something that I'm connecting it to.
There's a question.
Yes, question.
What color does he represent?
Yes.
Oh. That's another reason why I got the pineapple. I'm moving quickly. In our tradition, we usually have Djehuty represented by yellow. In the Shrine of Ptah, we would do it by yellow. Notice he also tends to have a lot of yellow. That's usually the color. Now, is green also one of the colors? Yes. Because I heard Djehuty say, I heard Abu Ahmed say green. Green is also one of the colors that in the Shrine of Ptah we used to use. We used to use green for Djehuty and for Het Heru, right? But generally speaking, on the day that we celebrate Djehuty, which is which day? Which day is the day of Djehuty? Uh-oh. I told you it's yellow. So which day do you wear yellow?
I'm not going to be on this file.
Wednesday. So Wednesday is the day that we celebrate Djehuty. And that's when we wear yellow. I also decided to get blackberries, also good for your brain. I know that these are not yellow, but brain food, right? Mm-hmm. Brain food. So I'm going to just put a few blackberries to Djehuty. You may not know that I'm doing this. I'm not just plucking them out, right? And mentally, I'm saying something every time I put something down. I say, Anuk Djehuty, Dwa Djehuty. That's a simple thing that I always do. Anuk Djehuty means I am Djehuty. Thank you, Djehuty. Because remember
Dwa
this.
Means thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Anuk Djehuty, Dwa Djehuty. Yeah. I am Djehuty. Thank you, Djehuty. That's what I said. Did I say something wrong? Yeah. So that is, I'm giving him some blackberries. In addition to that, we have life. We have the images that are directly connected to Djehuty. Usually, I love to also use stones, because stones. Do I think that this stone is literally, if I hold it, it's going to change my life? It's not that simple. But if the stone helps you visualize a concept, yes, it can change your life. Because if you visualize something, you can bring it into existence. In fact, the only way you ever bring anything to existence is if you visualize it. You may not even recognize that you visualize something that comes into your existence. That which you feed is that which live. So what stone is this?
Quartz.
This is I don't think this is quartz. I think this is selenite.
Oh.
Moonstone. Moonstone. That's moon.
No.
Djehuty.
Mhm.
So that's why I put the moonstone here on his base. I'm also going to, sometimes I use this as well. This is the way I think. This is just Jabari. It's not quite yellow, but it's kind of yellow. And you know, this is a natural stone. I love the patterns on it. To me, they are meditative. This is oh goodness. Moroccan jasper, I think.
Jasper's hands
Yeah.
palm stone.
Yeah, and it's a palm stone. It's meant to be in your palm. And I just love, these are natural patterns. Look at that. That's a stone. That's not,
Yes.
that's not something that someone drew on there. Sometimes I use this as well. Yes, you can. That's what I end up doing. That's what I end up doing. And of course, I usually burn something. Why? Because I feel that principle of fire also should be here. One of the things I often have on my altars is the 4 elements, right? And I also burn something because it's the element of fire, it's the element of air. It to me is symbolic of the spirit, symbolic of the unseen becoming seen. And so I am going to use some frankincense, a frankincense cone, and I'm going to burn it. I think I'll use this one
Because it has more of a yellow.
Yeah,
Can't hear you.
It has more of a yellow.
because it's more yellow. I'm going to use this also as something that I can give to Asar. Now, before I light it,
What is it?
this is a frankincense
No,
cone.
what is it that you're putting it on?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a lotus incense holder. Can you see that? That's a lotus incense holder. And I love it because you can use it. You can take this off. You can use this for the spiral, the rope incense, small pieces of incense. It's metal as well. So it gives me the quality of metal. And it obviously it's not going to burn the house down. So this is also what I would use. Now, generally, I would only light that after I pray. I would pray and then light. Okay? Does that make sense?
It doesn't have the thing in the middle.
No, it doesn't. In actuality,
He usually has something.
I may, just for practicality, use my other lotus. It's not yellow, but it has a more a flatter base in the middle, right? This is made of a heavy resin. It doesn't burn easily either. So this is what I'll use for this. The lotus is an important flower. We've talked about the lotus before. I'm not going to spend time doing it now. And so I would pray. I'm going to just simply say what I said when I was putting things down. I'm going to say, and I would usually say something obviously more complex than this, but I could simply say, Djehuty, Djehuty. I am Djehuty because I'm pulling forward this energy within myself. And then I would light. You want to do the honor? Yeah. Ooh. A little more. Hold it on there a little bit longer. There you go. Yes. Now, why do I use this lighter? This is a cigar lighter, right? This is one of those things you learn as you do, right? Why do I have a cigar lighter? Because I am often doing ceremony where I'm lighting things outside. You don't want to use a match because lighting something with a match outside is not easy, right? So a cigar lighter will still light even in the wind, right? Of course, you have to have the fluid for it, the butane for it. But because it is such a strong lighter, I can light things anywhere, even if it's windy or a little wet. And you can smell that the frankincense is now burning. Also, when you're doing your spirit work and you have these scents, you should know that one of the senses, the 5 senses that is closest connected to memory is the sense of smell. So as you're doing your work and you're lighting your incense, you will remember that. So this is of critical importance. These are some of the things that I would put on a Djehuty altar. Yes, Anika.
So why say I am Djehuty? Is it to bring his energy to us, saying that we were doing this?
I would say I am Djehuty because I'm bringing the Djehuty energy out of me. I already have Djehuty energy. But I am, if I'm trying to do a particular thing, what I'm actually trying to do is focus that particular energy within me to do the particular work that I need to do. So that's how I would do it. Yeah. So that's why I say I am Djehuty. Thank you, Djehuty.
You have to write a term paper.
Oh yeah.
If you have to do math.
Listen, reading and writing is all my entire weekend, most days, while some people are living it up and having fun in the club. Anika will tell you, so much of my weekend is just reading and writing. I have a paper due tomorrow in the new master's program that I'm in. So I spend so much time. That's why I didn't go to bed until like 4:30 this morning because I was working on one of the papers. So just know that this is something that you can do as well. There are lots of other things that you can add. Normally, this is from the shrine altar. I love this piece. It has a candle light in it. This one actually is made of Egyptian or Kemetic alabaster. And so it's translucent. When you put that light in there and it's dark, oh boy, it gives you a wonderful glow. And so that is one of the things that I would have used. There are lots of other images I might have used. Perhaps I would have had an Ankh on here. For me, the Ankh is connected to my spiritual tradition. So I usually have Ankhs everywhere. And so that's often something that I would do as well. This is a decent altar, I think, for you to do the work. This is a decent altar for you to do the work of Djehuty. What is it that you are trying to bring into existence? Perhaps Djehuty could assist you on that task. Remember, you don't have to have a lot. You can have a small altar. The Shrine of Ma'at sells traveling altars that you'll see on our website. So that if you're not in a place that you can be in permanently or semi-permanently, and you can't just leave your stuff out there, that doesn't mean that you should leave your traditions where you are. Take your traveler altar, do your work, leave it where you are at work. At the end of the day, blow out a candle or whatever else you got in there, close it up and go home. You should take your traditions, your power with you, because other people have used your traditions, your mechanisms, your protocols for power, and they have enriched and powered themselves above you. It is time for us to return to our traditions and return to our power. With that, are there some folks that would like to come on and talk about the altars that they have built?
Yeah, so we have Sanet Shankar who's with us. We have Djehuty Forever. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to unmute Shankar, and then you can go ahead and show us your altar.
Okay, my family, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can too.
Okay. So good to see you all. Interesting that you all were discussing shrines, because I consider my Kemetic room it's not just Kemetic, but it's an entire shrine. So I'll turn the camera around. There's altars all over this room. See if I can switch the camera around. How do I? I'm not sure if oh, wait a minute. All right, I'm not sure how to cut the camera around, so I'll just turn it around and possibly you all can see. Just let me know.
Okay.
This is my Kemetic altar. Can you see it?
Yes, we can. Oh, wow.
Okay, so I have my grandparents and great-grandparents, which those are considered to me to be the plugs to the ancient ones. And here I have the scales, the Makayet scales. I have protection of the scales with Ma'at in the middle of the scales. 42 laws there. There's an Ankh there. I have my Trinity here and my box. I say write prayers for people and put them in this box. Can you see that box?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And this is my papyri, real papyri. And my writing tool, I am taking Medu classes. I'm an aspiring scribe.
Mm.
I have inside, there's also that I use um, journals and things like that. I have a bench, an ancestral bench that I pull out to sit down and do prayers
Mm,
at.
nice.
I sit in the I sit and weigh myself in the balance of the scales every day. So I definitely galvanize and invoke Djehuty almost on a daily basis since I've come to the knowing that I'm an aspiring scribe. Um, again, there's altars everywhere. I've got it just the entire, and what I do as far as giving the live food. So as you can see, there's the altars here. I go over to my herbs here, and whatever I am working on, if it's with the mind, I will select that herb and put that on the altar here. Everything in this room is pretty much of an ancestor, even from the curtain tiebacks that I use. Um, these are from Africa. I don't know if you can see that. My father-in-law who had transitioned, he got a lot of pieces from Africa, so I use those for curtain tiebacks. They're bangles. But pretty much, and here's my mother's altar here
Mm.
with the things. So the entire, I mean, this entire, there's nothing
Whoa.
in this that is not either from an ancestor that I've collected over time, including journals, but I utilize whichever space that I'm in need of at that time. And then I'll just kind of bring that deity or that energy to the forefront and, you know, bring them to the forefront as I'm working with that particular energy. That makes
Mm-hmm. Now, see, isn't that what a practitioner would say? She doesn't just have a stationary shrine, a shrine that looks the same all the time. She brings forward the energy that she's working on. I always equate this to you tuning the dial. I know that I am old because most people don't tune a dial like this anymore. Come on, give me a break. I'm a child of the 70s. But that's the way I look at it. You are looking for a particular frequency, and that frequency allows you to do certain things. And so this is a Djehuty shrine, but I'm going to tell you, I bet you Shenkar has done many other energies, brought many other energies to do the work that she must do. And so that's how a practitioner says it. Did you hear how she said that? I got all these energies. I bring forward the one that I'm trying to work on.
I had a brother that's going through something, and he's, he practices in the Christian faith. So I pull out whatever's needed to work with that person.
That's right.
And we just sat and we talked, and I let him, and when he left out of this room, I make people take their shoes off before they come in here because, and of course I clear the energy out if anybody comes into this room. But when he left crying, and he felt like a weight was lifted. And I really didn't do anything but be there with him. And, I let the Neteru work through me, whichever way they fit. I don't try to do anything. I just stand out of the way and become a vessel.
Wow. That's how it's done. Why do you make them take off their shoes?
Because they are, they're tracking outside energy, and there's so many. There are times that I come in here with my shoes on, and if there's been something that I've come in contact with that day and I don't even know it, they feel uneasy. I can feel the energy is off. So I have to vacuum and wipe down things, and then I feel the balance restore. So
that's right.
I was never taught to do that. I just feel that energy. So I make folks take their shoes off and come in barefoot.
A practitioner practices. And so you don't have to always be told everything. Sometimes practitioners, even in the shrine, say, okay, give me everything. What do you do 1? What do you do 2? What do you do 3? How about 3B? What about 4? And we could describe what we do, but as a practitioner, as you do things, you'll begin to realize that some things work and some things work less well. Can I say it that way? I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but it works less well. And so you do what works the best. That's how you do it. So yes, when people are coming in with their shoes or with all sorts of other things, sometimes they need purification. And your shoes are the clearest thing, right? Because all the muck and the grime, everything from outside is what comes in on your shoes. So that's one of the things in a sacred space you would generally not do that. That's why when you come to the Shrine of Ma'at here, listen, if I have to get something and I'm rushing and I come into this space, I can be rushing. We're 10 minutes late to get to the tech-in. When I get to the door, I take off my shoes. I'm late already. What do you mean? It'd be so much easier if we just run in with my shoes. Ain't nobody here watching me. They wouldn't. Would they really know if I brought my Timbs in here? No. But you know who would know? The energy that I'm trying to use. And then when I feel that it's off, I go, I know what I did. So when I come in here, I take off my shoes. And so you need to think about purification as well. Wonderful. Wonderful. See, we have the folks that are doing the work on, right? You see Sinet Chenka, she's always doing the work. We know she does the work. And we also see Sen Djehuty Forever, the Djehuty of the Shrine of Ma'at Phoenix. You want to tell us a little bit about what you've done there?
Uncle Ma'at.
Ma'at.
I wanted to say again, happy soul return, Himneter and Tepi.
Oh, dua.
Yes. I actually got myself kicked off of the StreamYard a couple of times trying to reverse the camera.
Really?
So I can my altar. So I'll just turn the phone around. Hopefully I can get it.
See Bob here.
So what I have here for my Djehuty altar is one, I have Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, right? Because our information has been taken from us and we've been miseducated. I do have my papyrus of the Kemetic alphabet. We have the ostrich feather of Ma'at. We also have the Ankh, symbol of life. The Haru Inaketi, representing intelligence over our animal urges. One of my favorite games is the chess game. And so I have, yes, which is a very intelligent way of strategizing and using your mind, the power of the brain. And it's also, described the pin for Djehuty. We have the lotus. We have nourishment.
Oh, I didn't give him anything to drink.
And I actually have this mouse pad that has an image of Djehuty as well. So I just wanted to come on and also show the altar that's created here at the Shrine of Ma'at Phoenix.
Listen, that whole space he has transformed. Every single time I see an image of that space, I'm like, man, it's getting even more amazing. Look at that space. Look at that space. So I just think about the fact that practitioners practice, and this is a space for practitioners. So he has made it the kind of space that you come into and you feel like you must practice. Beautiful. Never. Oh, wonderful. And look at how there is a rhyme and a reason to all the pieces that both of them have used on these shrines, right? On these altars. Now, I'm not saying that you have to mirror what I've done here. That's not what I'm saying. What works for you? What works for you? The three of us have given you some ideas, the four of us really, have given you some ideas on what you can do, but clearly you should make it work for you. When you are thinking of thinking, what do you use? When you are thinking of thinking, what do you use? This is important. And I want you to recognize that others have been using this forever. When you go to the Library of Congress, at its main entrance,
and you look above the entrance,
what do you see? You will see Djehuty at the Library of Congress. That's what you'll see. So I want you to recognize that that is precisely what others have done. They have used your energy, your concepts to empower themselves. And then there are those of us who are afraid to use our energies and our concepts. Isn't there a reason that one of the first things that that our enslavers would do would tell us that we could not speak our languages?
Because they would empower us.
Because if you speak your language, now you have access to a tradition, access to a people, access to their history, access to their culture, access to their entire record of existence on this planet. Remove it from them and we can tell them they are anyone. That's what they did. That's what they did. And so going back and doing, is yours doing that too? Okay, good. Going back and taking that which you must take in order to do the work you must do is you living into your power. I want to say dua to the practitioners. Now, you know that these are powerful practitioners. We all have to say dua to them because they are folks that do the work, right? And so I love seeing what they do to do the work. It is of critical importance so that we are able to always get the best of all of what practitioners do so that we can learn from other folks who are practicing. That's really what we're doing. What are the other folks who are practicing doing? We should continue to speak to each other and say, well, what are you doing? Because if you are able to ask them what they are doing, maybe you're going to draw energy from what they do so that you can do something similar. That does not mean that you are stealing. It means that if you are one of the people that do this kind of work, you should actually be able to benefit from the things that other folks have done, the power that you get from what other practitioners are giving you. So I also glanced at the screen and saw that our elder Baba Heru was there. Can I say we want to give you Ankhs and Myrrh, life and love, Baba Heru? We must continue to give you life and love so that you are able to continue to do the work. Dwa, 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 for your journey, because your journey is our journey. Your journey is our journey. I'm sure he had all kinds of thoughts and ideas around altar building, because I'm going to tell you that much of what I do, he taught me, right? It's just that simple, right? When we would enter by the way, the largest Kemetic altar I have ever seen, other than in Kemet, the largest active Kemetic altar that I've ever seen was at the Shrine of Ptah. You would go there and it was the entire backstage was an altar.
Yes.
The entire backstage was an altar. And I remember sitting there with Baba once in Kemetic, Kemetics 101, and there was something he needed on the stage in the altar. He said, go get it. I was like, do you want me to go up there? He's like, go get it, beloved. You know how to do it. So we would go, carefully, reverently, because this was the altar. It was gigantic.
I remember.
It was I'm talking about an altar that was maybe 10 feet wide and maybe 10 feet wide, 10 feet long.
Yeah.
With images and offerings and drums and items. And listen, the largest altar that I have ever seen.
you.
And so that's the way that we did the work. So, are there any questions from folks about what we've done, about what they might do? Do we have questions?
Not yet.
None at this moment? I think that you should continue to do your work, family. If you are here with us, one of the things you might choose to do is to go ahead and do your altar. When you do your altar, what should you do? Place an image of it on your Facebook page. Share it with us so that we know what you have come up with. What you come up with can be helpful to us as well. I don't know why this laptop up here is not connecting, but so I can't see anybody anyway. Well, I should just forget about it. Just know that we are here to help you do your work. That's the way that we describe. We're here to help you do your work. And if you are trying to do something, you should take it to the altar. You should take it to the altar. Why is it that other people in other traditions would actually do this more than we would, when the first images of altars that you will see are from Kemet?
Mhm.
If you don't have an altar that you're tending at home, ask yourself, why not? Are you telling me you're not doing anything? Are you telling me that you don't need assistance from the ancestors or the Neteru? Because the altar is how you would get your assistance. If you work your altar will alter your condition. So, with that, I want to say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. The divine force in us greets the divine force in you. Dua, dua, dua for all that, for being part of this today. And I'm truly hoping, come this way. I'm truly hoping that this will spur you on to do your work. If you're not doing your altar work, are you really a practitioner? If you're not doing the opening of the way, are you really a practitioner? If you're not doing meditation, are you really a practitioner? I'm not telling you that for you to be guilty. I'm telling you that to spur you on to do that which you know you must do. So that is what I need to say. Any final words from you, Abu Ames?
Oh yes. Just a little bit off track.
Okay, go ahead.
A little off track. This is not going to be Abu Ames. This is Uncle Ames. This is Uncle Ames speaking right now. Uncle Ames is going to try to put a little thing together. Not try. I am going to have this together where family, if you live in the tri-state area, or you can make it to the tri-state area, looking at May, we are going to get out in a park, bring your children, we're going to get some blankets, some food, and we connect. As I said before, earlier, that we have survived a 3-year of disconnect and turmoil and a pandemic, and we lost relatives, friends, and stuff. And it's time for us to reconnect. And it's something that's off the beaten track. Other organizations, they get together and they just do this. It's free. Just you can bring a picnic basket. I like playing tag and hide go see. So bring your kids. I'm going to be running. That kind of freedom. So we will have a date. I'm working with the Intepis. We're going to look at a date in May, and also an alternate date just in case that day rains. But I would love you to come join Uncle Ames out in the park.
How should they reach you to make sure that they?
You can text me at 347-664-7020. Again, 347-664-7020, or Ames, AAHMES69@gmail.com.
Okay. I listen. We can't wait to get there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sometimes we need to just laugh together, right?
Yes.
Everything doesn't have to be heavy and cerebral. Sometimes we just need to spend time in peopleship. The Kemetic need to get together and have fun.
And any ideas, please send them my way.
Please send them his way. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can have.
Now, don't forget, there are 2 A's at the beginning of his name. Okay? It's AAHMES69@gmail.com. Okay, don't just put one because it's gonna go to somebody else or nowhere. Because I don't know anybody would have this comments with one A.
I just put
you
it
know.
that way too.
Yeah, so please make sure that you spell it correctly so that you're able to reach out. Anika, what you were gonna say something?
There's a question: if you want to invoke more than one in Netzeru, would you have to make more than one altar?
Yeah, you can have more than one. I was gonna put Ma'at on this altar because sometimes Djehuty is considered the complement to Ma'at, right? So I'm not saying that you necessarily have to use one for each. Are those energies complementary? That's one thing I would ask. Are those energies complementary? I know that I usually, before I do speaking or work, I call the name of 3 Neteru together. And so thinking of them as entirely separate is probably not correct. But ask yourself, are these complementary energies that I'm trying to use? There are some practitioners that don't have a working altar and an ancestral altar together. They think that energies are different. And I can see that argument. I don't know if I entirely agree with it. It's not entirely the case, but I can see the argument because sometimes when you're dealing with ancestral energy, you might be in sorrow when you're thinking about a family member who has passed. And I get that. You don't necessarily want to bring that energy to your work, the thing that you're trying to bring into existence. But once again, there's no hard and fast rule about that. You should just consider how you want to do it and see what works for you. Other questions?
How do people not based in the U.S. make a donation?
I don't think you have to be based in the U.S. to send us money via or a donation via PayPal or Cash App. I don't think you have to be based in the U.S. to do that.
They can also use mobile money if they're in certain areas of the continent.
Yeah, but I don't know what number they would use because we don't. It's we only are able to send money out. We're not able to usually receive money via mobile money. You know.
Okay, so then Cash App and PayPal.
Cash App and PayPal are best if you can. And if you're not able to do that, let us know. We really benefit from your offerings, and we say dua to you from your offerings. It's the only way we're able to do this. It takes money and time and energy and resources to be able to do this. We thank you when you make your offering to allow us to do the work. Other questions or comments? Is that it?
That's it.
But once more, I say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Shemin Ma'at, go forward in divine balance and do the work that you are divinely ordained to do. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Oh, we didn't do the final affirmation. You're right. Do you want to do the affirmation, Anita? You haven't seen you on camera. This would be a good time for you to come and be on camera.
All right. Behind the altar. So it's good to see all of you. Dua for all of your comments and being very active and involved today. Dua for all of your donations. It definitely helps with the work that we are doing. I do want to remind people if we are still traveling this summer, we still have some seats available. If you're interested in going to Kemetic or to Ghana, please visit our website at www.centerformaat.com. And please try to make that decision quite soon because payments are due to the airlines and to the hotels and the cruise ships. So we need to make sure that everything is taken care of. So please make that decision soon. Other than that, I think those are the main announcements. So I would like to offer you our final affirmation so that you can go forth and have a wonderful, peaceful day. So we're going to go with the Amasu. So if you stand in the pose of adoration, and we'll start off in the language of our ancestors and then repeat it in English. Amasu and Patenter.
Amasu and Patenter.
Sauksu.
Sauksu.
Emetra.
Emetra.
And Patenter.
And Patenter.
Autu.
Autu.
Aura.
Aruba.
Maketipa.
Maketipa.
Perura.
Perua.
Give yourself to the one most high.
Give yourself to one most high.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
Keep yourself daily for the divine.
And do it tomorrow.
And do it tomorrow.
Just as you did it today.
Just as you did it today.
To our return.
To our return.
Thank you to the divine. Thank you to all of you.
It's wonderful to be with you again, family. Hopefully we will see you all up. Look. Hopefully we will see you all soon. You put your hand down. Because it's gonna follow you if you put your hand up.
Okay. Try to get it back over.
I got it. Yeah. It's so interesting that this robotic camera views this as the motion to tell it to work. And we are Kemetic practitioners. So we doing this all the time. When we do this, it blinks. It's saying, okay, I'm waiting for your message. So that's what happened. I should have remembered that Anika was doing it because I would have done it as well and it would have stayed with me. You might notice that that's what I'm doing. Anyway, we're giving you energy and we're receiving your energy. We will see you all soon. Shema Mahai, fourth and divine balance.